Hey everyone, and welcome to the Silent Newsroom. We're diving deep into the archives, dusting off the forgotten corners of history, and shining a light on the events that often get left out of the textbooks. Let's get to it. Imagine China in the mid-1800s, ruled by the Qing Dynasty. Now picture this, a man named Hong Xiuquan emerges, claiming to be the younger brother of Jesus Christ. He goes on to lead a massive rebellion that engulfs much of southern China for over a decade. This wasn't just some small-scale uprising, we're talking about the Taiping Rebellion, one of the deadliest conflicts in human history. Hong Xiuquan's movement established its own government, the Taiping Heavenly Kingdom. They challenged the Qing dynasty's authority, controlled vast territories, and implemented radical social reforms. For 14 years, a brutal civil war raged across China. By the time the rebellion was finally crushed in 1864, the death toll had reached an estimated 20 million people. The Taiping Rebellion left an indelible mark on China's social and political landscape. World War II was a conflict that touched every corner of the globe. One such story is that of the Night Witches, an all-female Soviet bomber regiment that struck fear into the hearts of Nazi soldiers on the Eastern Front. Imagine this. The dead of night, the eerie silence broken only by the drone of aircraft engines. Suddenly a swarm of plywood biplanes appears out of the darkness, raining down bombs on enemy positions. These were the Night Witches, the 588th Night Bomber Regiment of the Soviet Air Force. These women flew outdated Polikarpov Po-2 biplanes, originally designed for crop dusting and training. Under the cover of darkness, they would idle their engines as they approached their targets, gliding silently through the night sky. Over the course of the war, these women flew over 23,000 missions, dropping over 3,000 tons of bombs on German targets. They faced constant danger, flying in freezing temperatures with open cockpits and under constant threat of enemy fire. Chapter 3. The Ustaše regime, a dark chapter in Croatian history. While the horrors of Nazi Germany are widely known, the atrocities committed by their collaborators often remain in the shadows. One such case is the Ustaše regime, which ruled the independent state of Croatia during World War II. Their reign of terror, fueled by a toxic ideology of racial hatred, left an indelible scar on the region. The Ustaše were driven by a poisonous ideology that combined Croatian nationalism with extreme Catholicism and a virulent strain of anti-Semitism. They saw Serbs, Jews, Roma, and other minorities as obstacles to a racially pure Croatian state. The Ustaše established concentration camps, the most notorious being Jasenovac, where hundreds of thousands of innocent people were tortured and murdered. They implemented a policy of forced conversions, deportations, and mass killings, targeting anyone deemed an enemy of the Croatian state. The methods used by the Ustaše were shocking in their cruelty. The horrors they inflicted left deep wounds in the region, fueling ethnic tensions that continue to resonate to this day. Chapter 4. The Lost Franklin Expedition, a mystery in ice. The Arctic, a vast, unforgiving landscape of ice and snow where nature's beauty conceals its deadly power. One such tale of ambition and tragedy is the story of the Lost Franklin Expedition, a mystery that has haunted maritime history for over 170 years. In 1845, two British ships, HMS Erebus and HMS Terror, set sail from England, embarking on a daring mission to navigate the Northwest Passage. Leading the expedition was Sir John Franklin, a seasoned explorer with a distinguished career in the Royal Navy. The ships were equipped with the latest technology, carrying enough provisions to last for 3 years. However, as months turned into years and no word from the expedition reached England, anxiety turned into despair. Search parties were dispatched to scour the Arctic wasteland, but they found only tantalizing clues, abandoned campsites, caches of supplies, and the graves of 3 crewmen who had died early in the expedition. Then, in 2014, a Canadian search team made a groundbreaking discovery. The wreck of HMS Erebus, remarkably well preserved on the seabed in the Canadian Arctic. These discoveries have provided new insights into the final days of the Franklin expedition, but many questions remain unanswered. Chapter 5. Stalin's Cannibal Island. a horror story from the Soviet Gulag. The Soviet Union under Joseph Stalin was a place of immense suffering, where millions perished in the name of ideology and state terror. One of the darkest chapters of this era is the story of Nazino Island, a remote Siberian outpost that became a living nightmare for thousands of Soviet citizens deemed enemies of the state. In the early 1930s, Stalin's regime embarked on a brutal campaign of collectivization and forced industrialization. Millions of people, labeled as kulaks or class enemies, were rounded up and deported to remote regions of the Soviet Union. Among these unfortunate souls were the 6,000 men, women and children who were herded onto barges in the spring of 1933 and shipped to Nazino Island. The island was completely unprepared for their arrival. There were no shelters, no medical supplies, and only a meager supply of flour which was dumped on the shore, unguarded and quickly spoiled. Hunger and disease spread like wildfire. As conditions worsened, reports of cannibalism began to surface, painting a gruesome picture of the depths of human despair. By the time a commission arrived in August 1933 to investigate the situation, over 4,000 people had died on Nazino Island. The story of Nazino Island is a chilling reminder of the human cost of totalitarian regimes and the depths of cruelty that can be unleashed in the name of ideology. So there you have it, 5 stories, some spanning decades, some just a few short years, all echoing in the silence of history. By unearthing these stories, we're not just indulging in the past, we're trying to understand the present. Thanks for venturing into the Silent Newsroom with us. Until next time, stay curious.